And it says right at the end, we even have special guests at the final workshop.
It was so much fun. It really was fun. An opportunity. You actually build it from scratch, and they give you all the parts and everything, and then you put an egg in it, and then you shoot it off, and then you go retrieve it to see if your egg is still intact.
Dr. Salen's egg broke.
No, it didn't.
I know. I knew she was going to say that. No, it didn't.
We had it for breakfast one morning.
So I knew
fun.
you were. I heard you were very excited that your egg did not break.
Yeah.
And then at the high schools, and I believe, Ms. Bennett, you referenced this as one of your activities that you had attended a while ago, but the Ken Island didn't you?
Yes,
wasn't that
I did.
you?
I did,
yeah,
yes.
Ken Island and Stevensville staff did a softball
There was
game.
dancing involved there as well.
Oh,
yes.
I mean, without dancing, I mean, but the PTA sponsored that too. So it was parents, teachers, everybody working together. And then Queen Anne's County High School, they did a Senior Spirit Week. The only comment I have with this is that the boy who has the bald head, like John Treckengost, is, I mean, I laughed when I saw that. That was an LOL moment. So do you see it?
Yeah.
He has like a fake bald head and a tie, so.
And his walkie-talkie.
And the
Oh, he
other
does
ones
have a
are-
walkie-talkie. I missed that
Other
detail.
pictures are alternates to book bag.
Anything but a book bag.
Anything but a book bag. So you see a grill there, a baby carriage, and a trash can, and of course your
Grocery
cart.
carts.
Yeah, and a little tractor, but anything but a book bag.
And a boat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Shrek and Gosh Day. Yeah,
Yeah.
so much fun.
So anyway, and that is a wrap on May's Spotlight. So,
All right.
Now we'll move into open forum. Tammy?
We ask all speakers to keep in mind the following guidelines. Speakers should sign the roster, including their telephone number and address. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes in length. Comments longer than 3 minutes should be submitted in writing. Questions or statements to the board should relate to a matter of general policy over which the board has authority. Comments about actions or statements of individual staff members are not appropriate for public comment and should be referred to the superintendent of schools or board president. If you have a specific question, the board will make sure an appropriate staff member responds to your question. The board respects your desire and right to convey your message freely, but asks as a courtesy to this board and our citizens to show respect for all. First person on the list is Mr. Richard McNeil.
That one's lit up. Both of them are lit up.
No, neither one.
Either one. Take your
McNeil,
choice.
sorry.
Good evening, board members. My name is Richard McNeil, president still of the retirement group. I don't think they're going to throw me out anytime soon, but just a couple comments tonight. One, I know it's the end of the year. I'd like to congratulate all those seniors who graduated either today or well, and also want to make sure that, I think it was mentioned about, we have a very strong technical vocational program. It's not called vocational per se. And sometimes that gets left behind when we talk about the number of people who are getting scholarships to go on to a four-year college. And that's important. But we have a lot of folks who are graduating certificated already in the third level. 1, 2, 3, and in welding and cosmetology and all like that. And it's a lot of our folks don't understand that we do have that program. I want to just make sure that. Also want to give a big applause to all those folks who are retiring this year. You know, they've served in a capacity to help our children, bus drivers, custodians, teachers, assistants, whatever. My list that I have shows 31, and I'm sure there'll be some more between now and then, and of course Amy's on my list, so we're going to invite her in if she would like to join us. It was great to hear, I guess, that the commissioners approved the budget monies, and I hope that is enough to give appropriate compensation to our staff, because it's been a tough 3 years, and you know it, they know it, and across the nation, it's tough that way. Early in my career as a teacher, we were given 5 Band-Aids in a Ziploc bag. 10 or 15 years later, we were given 5 Band-Aids and 5 rubber gloves. Times changed. We're in a situation where I saw a doctor and I think it was in Florida, has put together a survivor's packet that fits in a Ziploc bag, and it has 2 tourniquets, 5 pressure dressings, and 5 hemostats. I almost hate to say it, but it's almost like we need to have those in schools also. And I don't know whether the federal Safe Schools project would have enough money to do that, but I think it's something worth looking into, and I would encourage the board and maybe Mr. Pender to look into that. So if something were to happen in one of our schools, maybe we can save a life, not because we have a gun in school, but because we have proper field, Army, almost military field dressings to help on that. I'd like to close with one thing. Most of you weren't alive in the 70s, early 70s. Something to think about. The time between 1918 and 1970 is the same as 1970 to 2022. Just think of what went on between 1918, the end of the First World War, and 1970, and where we are right now. Thank you very much. Have a great summer. I'll see you in July.
Ariana Bennett? Oh, excuse me, Barrett. I apologize. Just state your name for the record, if you don't mind.
Ariana Barrett.
Thank you.
My speech will probably go for the whole 3 minutes. Hi, I'm Ariana Barrett. I'm a 10th grader at Kent Island High School, and I'm here to talk about my and my community's rights, protections, and representation in school as a member of the LGBTQ+ community, but also as a member of your community. I don't speak on behalf of anyone but myself. I will be referencing experiences that I've faced and witnessed. According to the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, 90% of all LGBTQ students hear anti-LGBTQ comments in school. On average, an LGBT high school student will hear 26 slurs per day, a third of which come from teachers or staff. I've heard countless stories from people in my school who were being bullied because of their identity, and they went to a teacher and were told, "That's life," or "I can't help you," or "Maybe you shouldn't display it then." That's what I've had said to me. The amount of hatred that is faced by members of the community that is not only received from other students, but from teachers as well, begs some questions and some conflicting ideals. Why should I have to be afraid about talking of my identity or speaking my mind when people who their only difference is that they love the opposite sex and identify with their natural-born gender are allowed to speak theirs without fear of scrutiny or hatred? This isn't about whether you agree with my community or not. This is about the rights of those who are struggling mentally and need to know that there are others out there who understand. This is about our right to seek help and be able to talk about our state of being without being shot down. This is about our right to simply exist without living in fear because of who we are, something that we can't control. This is about our right to get an education, and if we are bullied because of who we are, we can reach out to teachers for help without being in fear of being rejected by our teachers as well. Board, admin, teachers, and even parents, don't let your personal views cloud you from seeing the wrong that's happening. Push past it to do what's right by the children who you've sworn to do good by and the kids who are depending on you daily. You say our schools are a safe place for the community. We'll show it, because plenty of other people I know, not only from my school, but from other schools in the county, are not seeing it. There are teachers, school staff, and students who make safe places for us, but there aren't enough. We need to shine a brighter light on this issue. One way we could do this is by educating leaders on how to support members of the community more and create more representation for the community to not make it such a taboo in our community. We can do all of this and more so that school is a safe, comfortable environment for those exploring their sexuality and gender identity. Thank you, and happy Pride Month.
Kimberly Miller? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Do I need to state my address since I wrote it down?
That's fine.
Okay, Kimberly Miller. I live in the town of Centerville.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Miller. I'm from the Mid-Shore, born and raised, and in 2007, I returned to the shore with my husband and our 2 children, one of whom was only a month old, looking for a bit more space and a better school system than the one from which we were moving. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the educators of Queen Anne's County. I have a son in 9th grade and a son in 11th grade at Queen Anne's County High School. Over the course of the last 12 years, my children have attended the public school system here, and in each year, my children have received an extraordinary education from their teachers. In each grade, my children have been treated with kindness, treated with respect, given a quality education, and have always been well prepared for the month of testing in May and for the next school year. When the global pandemic shut schools down in March 2020, the teachers felt the brunt of the public's ire and criticism. Social media was filled with hateful words aimed at teachers as though it was their fault that schools were shut down and the local and statewide education system wasn't prepared to pivot when required. However, within 2 months, teachers were able to meet with the students online and create brand new lesson plans. Once a plan of action was established, the teachers dove in head first and made the best out of an awful situation. Who can anticipate a global pandemic? Seriously. In the time I've lived in this area as a parent, I've struggled with understanding why the local education system is expected to produce well-educated young people on a shoestring budget. With a group of commissioners, who constantly fund at the minimal MOE, teachers are expected to pull a rabbit out of their hats each year. Continuing to handcuff them with ridiculous attendance requirements and lack of income will make recruiting quality teachers improbable and will make retaining the quality teachers we have impossible. I've been lucky to surround myself with some wonderful friends who also happen to be educators. Some of them have taught my children, some of them are my neighbors, some of them are fellow soccer moms, and some of them became friends through our sons' friendships. As I've grown to know them more personally, I've learned that the giant hearts they show to our children in the classroom are also the way they live their lives. These educators are people who care a lot, and I find myself being a better person just by knowing them. They're a group of individuals who really do want each child to succeed and reach their fullest potential. Instead of handcuffing them even more, they should be rewarded. I trust the outcome of the negotiations will show the Queen Anne's County Board of Education is a group who truly does care about their teaching staff and their students. Actions are more important than words. Thank you.
Thank you. Dawn Sweeney.
Evening.
Good evening.
I'm Dawn Sweeney from Chester, Maryland. I'm back. Not really because I wanted to do another speech and be in front of you, but because I felt the need that I have a lot of teacher friends. I work obviously in a school, and people are afraid to come and talk because they're afraid of what's going to happen. And I think that's sad. And I think that, I'm kind of going off cuff here, but, you all clap and you're all happy about all the spotlight stuff that comes up, and I think it's awesome. All those things are not possible without the teacher supporting it. All those after-school programs, all those shuttles going up, all that fun stuff is possible because we stay after. We do all the prep work. We get it all together. We help everyone. I feel like a lot of times this board feels like it's a 8:30 to 4 o'clock job, and that's all teachers do. And they do a lot more than that. A lot of people in the school do a lot more than that, not just the teachers. So here's my stink here. So for tonight, I'm representing the teachers who are afraid to have their voices heard. I'm here for the custodians who are right now in our schools getting them fresh and ready for tomorrow. I'm here for the pairs and assistants who are out working another job because what they make is not livable. What are we doing? Are you even, I just feel like you're not even listening to the people that come up here. It's just a routine. We come up here, we do the things that we say the things and try to get you to understand what's going on. But it's just words that are going through and going right on out. I mean, leadership is listening to the people and and empowering the people that are underneath of you. It's trying to make the whole group better. And a group is only better if everyone is working together and not separately. And I just feel like sometimes this board and the school, we're not working together. And that's sad. It's sad that we're not listening. We're not communicating with other people. We're not able to listen and acknowledge what the things that people are struggling with. And I have a big concern for that because it is contagious. Okay, struggles and working too much and having paras cover classes and doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, and it's too much. And you all just think that it's fine. It's fine that we're going into classrooms and we have 8 people out and we're just all spread thin because we have to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. Okay, when we don't have any subs, like all these people who said, oh, we'll come in sub, don't worry about it, open the schools. There's nobody subbing. There's nobody subbing. It's a la-la land. There is not people subbing. We have like 2 regular subs. And we're here, like today, 8 people were out because of graduation, because for some reason we decided to do graduation at 10 o'clock in the middle of the day. When half of this county is made up of teachers who have kids that are in the school that are graduating. So we have people out, other people covering, things aren't the way they're supposed to be. I implore you I challenge you to come up and step up, go cover a class.
Okay, just
for the day.
wrap it up because we got only so many, we got a lot of speakers.
I implore you to go cover a class a day. Not to stroll in and take a browse and say, oh, isn't everything cute here? To actually go and cover a class, all of you. To cover a class, go cover a special ed class, go cover a UA class, okay? Try it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Breeslyn Sweeney?
Hello, I am Breeslyn Sweeney. I'm in 8th grade at Stevensville Middle School. I spoke at the BOE meeting a couple weeks ago, and I thought I would get my point across, but I guess I didn't. Teachers are getting treated the exact same and maybe even worse. Teachers are, we have not gained any staff since the last meeting. Teachers are still getting overworked. We are losing staff by the week. I am not proud. My school had a gun threat since the last meeting. Yes, my school got that sorted out, but still nothing has changed about me feeling safe. Yes, nothing big has happened to improve our schools, and that's pretty sad. We need to step up. Y'all seem to not listen to teachers, even if they have kids in the school system. Y'all listen to parents, though. I don't even think you listen to students, because you did nothing to make me feel safe at my own school. My teachers teach up to 80 students a day and still make time for every single one. They do so much for me, it breaks my heart how they get treated with such disrespect. I spoke for the teachers that couldn't. I spoke for the teachers that go home crying. I spoke for the students that don't feel safe at their own school. Last but not least, I spoke for me. I guess that it's not sad enough that kids don't feel safe in your school systems. You really need to do something. Step up, QACPS.
Faith East? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Faith East. I live at 116 Gatt Drive. I'm a little less nervous than last month. I did not bring the props. I came as a union member to support our union and the maintenance of what it currently is, if not a betterment of it. I'm here as a community member and as a parent. As a community member, I came in last time and I gave you details about what is required of us in early childhood, in kindergarten, what is required of teachers during our planning, okay? You really need to keep that in mind. You were just invited to come in and take over a class. When you come in to take over a class, you need to do the planning. You need to pull the manipulatives and put them in a little bag so that you can hand them to the 25 students in your class and they can do the math work, because that's not planning. That's prep work, and it's not put into our planning time. We do it then, but it's not. As a community member, I'm here to say thank you. A big thank you. Dr. Saline, I believe you're responsible. I could be wrong. One of the things that I said last time is that we've got a big discrepancy in this county when it comes to class size and number. We have kindergarten classes that have 12 students, and we have kindergarten classes that have 25. I know that the school that has 25 has been slated to get a new kindergarten teacher, where we've got the large class of 25, and a new first grade teacher, so that those children can have the time that they did not have this year. Thank you for that. Our children, as a community, our children need the best. And a teacher's time is the best thing that we have to give them. As a parent, I'm going to agree with the young lady who's just spoke about the safety in our schools. You have heard last time and this time about how kids feel unsafe. You have heard about how teachers have been injured on the job. Okay, we really need to be a community, come together and look at that. The last thing I want to say is, unfortunately, I guess it was an oversight, I have not heard about our current contract. I asked about whether the committee had been formed to look at planning time and how to increase it. I don't know if that's happened. I don't know if there has been representation. It's in this year's contract. So that needs to be done. You aren't teachers. You aren't in the trenches. You aren't doing the planning, creating the materials, putting the materials together. You need to know what we do, okay? Please talk to us. We will tell you. And the other person that was up here that said teachers are scared, we are. A lot of people will not get up here and talk to you because they're scared of getting put on a list. Just please keep that in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pet Lang?
I'm back. Kent Lang, 201 Tillman Neck Road, Centerville, Maryland, 21617. So I received in the mail since our last Board of Ed meeting from the Queen Anne's County Commissioners. It was a listing, and it was very interesting as I went through it. I just want to kind of highlight a little bit of what I saw on there that makes me think maybe I've been going about this wrong sitting at this table, is that there are 49 expenditures that the county commissioners put on here. Commissioners, executive, budget and finance, information technology, human resources, economic and tourism development, QACTV, community affairs, area agency on aging, local management board, detention center, planning and zoning, emergency services, administration for public works, animal services, engineering, general services, roads, solid waste, property management, parks, recreation, golf course, State's Attorney's Office, 4-H Park, Sheriff's Office, Orphans Court, Circuit Court, Fire Protection and Rescue, Chesapeake College, QAC Free Library, Board of Elections, Health Department, Soil Conservation Service, University of Maryland Extension Service, General Insurance, local grants, transfer to capital, salary lapse, and contingency. The ones that I didn't list were all the ones that didn't have more of a % increase than the Board of Ed at a whopping 2.4%. So my question, and I will gladly send you all my emails so you have the ability to respond, did we not ask for enough, or did the county commissioners tell us this is all they're going to give us? Because if that argument is they aren't going to give it, then we need to be at a different meeting than with you guys. You're tired of seeing us, I'm sure. So if it's the wrong place, the wrong people, please let us know so we can go to the right people and have those conversations so that we can actually affect change to compensate our educators properly. Thank you.
David Dulac? I got you.
Good evening. David Dulac, Chester, Maryland. I take a different tone. I'm here to thank you. President Smith, board members, Dr. Salins, executive members, team members. I come tonight to express my appreciation for the 26-year career as an administrator in Queen Anne's County. My last year may have set some records, though. I've been principal of Kent Island Elementary for the start of July, principal at Sellersville Elementary for July and August, and finally assistant principal at Mattapique Middle for the remainder of the school year. That's not why I came here to discuss, though, but rather to celebrate and thank the many individuals and groups who I've had the pleasure to work and serve with over these 26 years. So we're going to go back a little bit in time. Mr. Smith, you remember. 1996, thank you, Dr. Sadusky, for hiring me. To the principals that I've worked under, I took many lessons from you all, and I am so very grateful. In chronological order, Marilyn Carey is a name from the past. Dr. David Jones, Denise Hirschberger, Lee Vitas, Conrad Judy, and most recently, Dr. Lois McCoy. All were principals that I served as their assistant. I had the privilege of meeting and interviewing with someone who I believe is simply one of the finest educators in Maryland, and certainly Queen Anne's County has ever seen, Dr. Carol Williamson. Dr. Williamson hired my wife, Christine, and I back in 1990. Actually, she hired my wife. I came along with the package. And I was fortunate to follow her to Queen Anne's in 1996. She has been so impactful on mine and many other careers in leadership, and I can't thank her enough. I've had the pleasure of working with some of the best teachers our profession has to offer. Those schools I'll name later because it's an interesting list. You're in the process now of hiring leaders. I know that today because I heard from a candidate. Mrs. Carey and Mrs. Hirschberger shared with me the pride of seeing professionals move into leadership positions. And I also take great pride in seeing teachers who I've worked with make that important transition into leadership. That's always a thrill as a leader, that people who work for you and under you move up through the ranks. I cannot thank enough the principals and supervisors who I've had the privilege of working with, and a special thanks to this group of executive leadership members, Mr. Kay, Ms. Landgraf, and those deceased, Mr. Olak. And it's that time of year, those of us that have been around a long time remember Mr. Jennings visiting the schools in his fedora, and how people in the schools just scattered because nobody wanted to get that phone call to come down to the office and see Mr. Jennings. Their support of me as a young professional administrator will not be forgotten. And finally, and most importantly, to the thousands of students and their families that I've had the honor of working with, from Centerville Elementary School, to Sellersville Elementary School, to Stevensville Middle School, to Mattapique Middle School, to Kent Island Elementary School, back to Centerville Elementary School, back to Mattapique Middle School, then back to Kent Island Elementary School, then back up to Sellersville Elementary, and finally my last station of duty, Mattapique Middle School. Thank you for all of the effort that the students have shared with me and just sharing those experiences. They're never going to be forgotten. In those thousands of students, I include my 4 children, Gregory, Andrew, Michael, and Rachel. All have graduated from Queen Anne's County High School. They've all graduated from college or university of their choice. Andrew and Michael just recently received their MBAs. Well, Andrew at MBA, Michael a master's in another area. A few more minutes, Sid.
No, just a few more seconds. Keep it going.
And Rachel just received a Bachelor's of Science in Public Health and a Bachelor's of Arts in Spanish.
All right.
So, just to let you know that. Seriously, thank you to the teachers for the role that they've played in their success. I've said this on many occasions in Queen Anne's County, we have great students, we have supportive parents, and we have great teachers. That's a recipe for success. You can count on that.
Thank you.
And if I forgot anybody, my sincere apologies, and thank you to the board for having me serve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Thank you.
It's Julia George.
My name is Julia George, RN, NCSN, school nurse. I live at 5459 Wellington Drive, Trapp, Maryland. I've been working for you now for 38 years. I've got another 1 or 2 left of me. As you can see by my sign, I'm imploring you to do right by your educators, to do right for your support staff. During the pandemic and during the reopening, school nurses and teachers and support services all stepped up and did what we were asked. School nurses did 3 extra jobs on top of being a regular full-time school nurse. We were COVID testers, we were contact tracers, and we were the COVID communicable disease nurses for the entire school system. We stepped up. We now ask that you too step up. Give us all a decent COLA. Give us all our steps. You have a pending problem coming. School nurses will be, by my count, retiring, 4 to 5 of us in the next 2 years. You have 16 school nurses now. To encourage substitute school nurses to work for you, you pay them $35 an hour. A regular school nurse with an associate's degree makes $27.39 an hour. She has far more responsibility than your substitute nurse. Until she reaches step 6 in the pay scale, she won't make $35 an hour. A school nurse with a bachelor's degree and an RN at step 1 makes $31.86 an hour. She won't reach the sub-rate of pay until step 3. Then she will make just over $35. If you compare our salaries, the professional salaries of the school nurses that you're asking to work for you, to what professionals are being paid elsewhere in Queen Anne's County, we are being paid, if you were a school nurse 1 with an associate's degree and you're an RN, you make $8,000 to $10,000 less when you enter the system. You require that you have school nurses with at least 2 years of experience, not a school nurse straight out of school nursing. They're being paid $39,697 a year. It's not competitive, not even for a 10-month job. You're going to lose. You're going to fall behind. How are you going to hire those people? If you're a school nurse with a bachelor's degree, you will be hired at $46,000. If I were a brand new teacher with a bachelor's degree and I have no experience at all, you know what the pay rate is. You would pay me between $48,000 to $50,000, depending on what my certificate standing was, whether I was SBC or ABC. You're currently advertising a social worker who will make more than your school nurses who have been working for you for 3 and 4 years. You have a problem coming. It needs to be fixed. Please, please, please know that 52% of your support employees are at the end of their pay scale. They're on a fixed, I understand, they are on a fixed scale. They are on fixed payment, just like Social Security. Social Security payments, COLA is going up 5.9%.
Thank you, Ms.
Talbot
George.
County is going to pay
Could
3.75%.
Could you send us
We
to
need a
us?
COLA that is not a pun.
Okay.
We need a good COLA,
We
please.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Fields?
Good evening. I'm Karen Fields. I'm president of the Queen Anne County Education Association, and I'm an ELA teacher at Centerville Middle School. It's very troubling to QACEA members that we have reached the point of impasse. In the decade that I have been involved in the collective bargaining process under 3 superintendents, the board and QACEA has always been able to reach a consensus. Unfortunately, a third party will try to broker an agreement. We've been asking for months for the board to step up for their students and their staff. As the vacancy announcements pile up, QAC employees are making the decision to step out. You need to stop the exodus. We approach this next phase in good faith and in the hope that an agreement can be reached that honors our hard work. Over the next few months, we will need to decide if our future actually begins here. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the names on the list. Does anyone else want to speak?
You skipped one. He's on the list.
Okay, come on up.
I'm sorry, Brendan Lamb. I apologize. Thank you so much.
Good evening, members of the board and
Give
superintendent.
us your
of
name,
Queen-
just address, or
Brendan Lamb.
Just your name. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board and superintendent of Queen Anne's County Public Schools. I am here today as a student of Queen Anne's County High School. I am not just representing myself and fellow classmates, but the teachers and other staff members of this school system. One of those teachers is my mother. I've witnessed firsthand the time and dedications teachers put in beyond the workday. I am speaking on behalf of some of the teachers I thank the most for making me who I am. They are feeling disrespected and undervalued for all the hard work they put in. Now let's pause and review that for a second. The staff that is relied on to teach kids as low as pre-kindergarten age, all the way through high school and into adulthood, are feeling disrespected and undervalued. Not just a few, but many feel this way. Students like myself need these wonderful teachers to educate and guide us through the hardest time of our lives. But these teachers are not being respected. This is a problem that needs to be addressed, or the future of this school system, as well as the future generations of students, are at great risk. Next, many teachers are feeling violated through the fact that in their contract, they are promised a set amount of time for planning period. For example, at Queen Anne's County High School, I have first-handedly witnessed many teachers giving up their planning period to cover other teachers. Many times they will bring their laptops and other materials for planning and grading to try and complete the many tasks they have during their planning period. Let me inform this board and anyone listening that students are losing out on valuable instruction by not having a substitute. Teachers struggle to cover a class while doing the important work they must complete in order to prepare for their own class. It saddens me to watch as teachers are overly stressed and pushed to the point where they cannot put in a much-needed effort to educate their students. The job teachers have is not simple and is not easy, yet they are the ones being treated unfairly. May I ask, why are we here tonight? Why aren't you showing teachers the respect and appreciation they deserve? They should be appreciated as important lifesavers for many children and teenagers all over this county. The teachers are not just educating students, they are literally shaping the future generations of this county by giving us guidance and showing us what lies ahead as adults. Teachers are the future just as much as the students they're guiding. Lastly, on top of the fact that many teachers are extremely overworked in school, many of them go home to a second job to make ends meet. In addition, many of them grade and plan on their own time, including my mom. They are not paid for this, and many teachers stay up late working some nights just to get up early the next morning and do it all over again. Teachers work just as hard, if not harder, than many other professionals. So why, may I ask, are they being treated this way? On behalf of the staff working in this county, fellow classmates, and myself, we want to see a change. Thank you for your time, and let's solve this problem with immediate attention. Step up.
Okay, that's the end of our public comment right now. And like I said earlier, we will hear from everybody. We have a big agenda, but at 8 o'clock, I will take a break and open forum again for anybody that either didn't get to speak or has more to say. Thank you.
Are there other people on the list?
No, honey, that's it. That's it.
But if anybody wants, I mean, we're going to be here, but I don't want you to have to wait till 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock tonight if it's too late for you. Staff's got to get back in here.
Don't worry.
Okay, next up will be Ms. Hudak. You're up next.
Want me to proceed?
I can hear everything you say.
good evening again. I bring before you the Personal Electronic Device Policy 603. It's up for the first read. Several groups actually met and looked at the policy, looked at the regulations, and aligned the policy with actual implementation. So this is for the cell phones. So it's just updating it.
Did we change the name of this? Didn't it used to be called technology?
No, there is another one that you're referring to.
Okay. Acceptable use of technology.
Yes, that's a different one. This is still the same name, just making it more reflective of current practices.
Thank you.
I just had two questions. One is, it says they're an integral part of our everyday world and through instant communication may add to the well-being of students. What instances were we thinking that instant communication added to the well-being of the students?
Teachers use them for students to interact. It's really, the middle school and the high school are leaving it at more autonomy for the classroom teacher, because they do, and I can't think of the app off the top of my head, but there's an interactive where they can use their phones as a response, so they get an immediate assessment of what students know if they do an activity.
Kahoot.
Yeah, that's one of them.
one, but
Kahoot
that's
is
just an
one, and
example.
then there's other ones as well. And the students can respond using their phones.
Okay.
So it's at their discretion. So as long as it's used in an instructional, interactive way. So as a tool, an instructional tool.
Okay, thanks.
Can the Chromebooks be used for that too?
They can, yeah, they can.
I guess my only concern, if everybody has a Chromebook, you're limited to what you can do. You have a phone, not that somebody would be doing something inappropriate, but they could be.
No, they can use their laptops, but being boots on the ground, not everybody has their laptops with them every day. They may not have them charged, so it's an alternative. Not that a teacher's going to use them. It's really just the high schools and the middle school were looking to have, they wanted the teachers, the administrators wanted the teachers to have the autonomy to use them. But they needed to be used in an instructional manner.
And then I was looking at, it says, therefore, limited use of student and employee electronic devices will be permitted, but must strictly follow the prescribed guidelines. What does that mean? Where are the guidelines? They're not on the policy.
That is, no, that would be in the policy that that Ms. Harper was referring to.
Acceptable use
Yeah,
policy.
acceptable use policy. So it's separate, but then that one governs what is acceptable.
We have two policies?
Yes.
Yes.
And the other one comes out of the technology department. This one's just really focusing on the use of the tool as an instructional support.
See, I guess I wasn't getting that from it, because it says instant communication may add to the well-being of students, and it doesn't seem like that's
Well, instant
talking about
communication, like she said, we
educational.
use them educationally speaking to engage with quick responses. So we might be on Teams, a question pops up and asks it, and the team quickly weighs in on the question, and it's a competition.
We've
And
used
so
them
it's-
actually in professional development
We
as
have,
well. Yeah.
okay.
So
It's just a real quick, immediate response.
Oh, I can understand that, just
Yeah.
the verbiage of well-being doesn't seem educational, if that makes sense. It doesn't. And so why, is there some reason we couldn't modify the other one to make this just inclusive in the
This
other
is more instructional. The other one is more for technology
Yeah.
uses of being able to what you can use your phone for as it relates to if you can't use it to capture inappropriate pictures, and you can't use those types of things. It's more on the technical aspect, technology aspect of using our internet and what you can and can't do.
Yeah,
That's
and
rightfully.
that language wasn't changed, that the language you're referring to is.
And this was only
the same.
updated to reflect what we currently do.
Yeah.
So we had a policy that was outdated and didn't really express what our current procedures and policy is.
I look at technology as a lot of good things, sometimes not necessarily some
I
things.
agree with you, Mr. Smith.
Every teacher, when they're teaching a class, has a right to sit there and say, we're going to shut this stuff down because we don't need it right now. Because
Yep.
it appalls me when I go to a restaurant and see half the people sitting at a table on a phone.
I agree.
But I would think that when you're in class, if the teacher's using it and it's a help, that's one thing. But at some point times, they just need to be put in their book bags or somewhere else and just shut down.
Agreed.
Okay, any other board members have any?
No.
And it will come back for a second in July, and then look for approval in August.
And it also says to be reviewed annually, and I think that's very good because,
Yes.
you know,
It
things
had
change.
been,
The
it
other
had
policy is
been a
also
long
re-
time.
I mean, things like that.
I think what Helen is saying is, if you look at the purpose of this policy is to establish guidelines for the student and employees of Queen Anne's County for the use of electronic devices on the grounds, et cetera. And then there's no guidelines.
The guidelines are part of the.
It's the
regular
regulations.
guidelines.
Okay.
So
That's in the
every student,
regulations.
when they start, they get a policy that them and their parents read and agree to. Yeah, we're not going to use these for inappropriate activities or, you know, being on the phone while you're in class. Those are the guidelines.
Right, but it
Or in the
says that
student
the
handbook.
purpose of this policy is to establish guidelines. So this policy is not establishing anything. I mean, it just doesn't, I guess this policy doesn't really make any.
It's recognizing the
making sense to me.
guidelines that are
Which will be
somewhere
in the
else.
regulations.
603 point whatever,
Yes.
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we just need to change that line.
Maybe instead of saying establishing, maybe saying,
Reference.
Yeah.
That should
I mean, we
reference.
can
Sounds
keep
like
that
it's
way,
more
but-
the purpose is to allow teachers to use kids' phones for educational purposes. It seems like that's more the purpose than to establish I guess I'm just not understanding the purpose of this policy because there's no guidelines, which is, it says it's establishing them. I'm just not following.
well, how about clarifying? Instead of saying establishing, clarifying the guidelines for the use of personal devices in schools.
Or just incorporate the actual guidelines or the
Refer to it.
regulation that you mentioned.
You're going to have to make a reference to the actual
They're done
regulation.
there, but I thought what came to the board was policy only.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that this can reference the regulation.
Yeah, the number, at least the regulation number, and
Sure.
That can
I
be
actually
added.
thought I printed it out a few times, but I thought I missed a couple pages because it was so.
Well, policies usually are very, very broad. Your regulation is where you get down to the nitty-gritty
And I did
detail.
not adjust what was in the
Right.
policy, only what
The practices
has been
were.
adjusted.
Right.
yeah, and there's only a couple of changes on it from the
Yeah.
existing policy, but just
Well, maybe I think if we sent the other thing that it relates to, so the board can look at that too and go back to the other policy.
Well, the regulation falls under the superintendent, so
I know, but we
it's
can
not
just see what it
necessary
is.
to
It's
send
not
out
necessarily
with the
big, but it-
policy.
Well,
There's
I
reason for it.
suggest you take it back to the team and reevaluate the purpose and come back next month, or
That'd be great,
Dr.
yeah.
Sprinkle come back next month to articulate
No, you should make her come
proposed
back.
changes.
Can look at the purpose.
You can make her
or just
we're not
reference
ready
the,
for-
like I said,
yeah.
reference the regulation. So if
Regulation,
you look at
right.
this policy, we approve the policy, and the policy establishes the regulations and the guidelines, and under 602.1, whatever it is, just so you can find it. I mean, otherwise, it's just a,
The suggestion
I can
is
do that.
also
There's really nothing-
authorize the establishment of guidelines. The purpose of this policy is to authorize the establishment of guidelines.
that's fine. If
Then
that's
have
what the
that-
purpose is, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Semantics.
Semantics.
I got it.
Got it.
Thank
All right,
you.
Can you
Where's
please
Matt?
forward that to me?
I will.
Dr. Stevens?
Right.
All right.
Thank you,
I
Darren.
appreciate your time.
That sounds,
I'm looking at Darren.
Our next will be
I see him.
expenditures. Ms. Towers.
Good evening, President Smith, Dr. Salins, board members, executive team. Tonight, we bring before you the May expenditures in detail and in summary for your review. And any questions?
It looked pretty good to me, but we got another month to go. To me, I see nothing out of the ordinary that's. From what I've seen in the past and what I see now, I don't see any red herrings to me. Any other board members have any questions?
I will when we start getting into the action items.
The next item we bring before you is ESER 2 and ESER 3 breakdown for your review. Any questions?
So this has to be spent by September?
ESSER 2 is 9/30/23, and then ESSER 3 is 9/30/24.
Thank you.
What is the long term? Will this hopefully come back again? I mean, this has been a godsend for COVID's not been, but these ESSER funds have been a godsend for us to do some things that we are really couldn't do. Now we've had to do some extra things during COVID, so it's extra things on our plate, but it's been a very helpful. And I know we've.
The next wave of ESSER monies really is coming through the LEADS grant right
LEADS
now.
grant, and that's
I
what-
don't foresee that we would get additional funds following that, because really that's when the blueprint funding starts to really come in. And so,
transition.
So yeah, so we're kind of going from ESSER 1 to ESSER 2 to ESSER 3 to LEADS grant to blueprint. That's the way that we've been understanding how it's, right, that's what we've been told is going to be how it's going to roll, so.
Summer school this year is still with ESSER 2, is that correct?
It is out of ESSER 3 this
ESSER
year.
3?
Yes.
Okay.
Have any other questions by the board? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Kibler.
Good evening, President Smith, Dr. Salins, board members, executive team, Dr. Kibler, Director of Accountability and Implementation. I bring before you tonight a first read on a new policy to establish citizen advisory committees.
Do any board members have any questions or comments?
Well, I have a couple questions. Just, I think the Citizens Advisory Committees, it's just a great idea, and we're certainly not limited with, how many we can have. I guess I'm thinking just because this was something that was, I had wanted to, I talked about establishing many months ago, and then I know we've taken this up, is on the policy here, I guess I'm thinking, certainly Dr. Salins and executive team to have citizens commissions, committees that advise you guys would be a great idea too, but for the one that advises the board, that I would like that committee to report to the board rather than report to, that says committees will report to the board when requested, but I think that would just be the standard, is that committee if it was going to be to help us with the things that we task them with, that they would just report to us rather than when requested, and have the Board of Education look and be over would be the liaison for the committee that was for us. Doesn't mean we can't have other committees, certainly, that would advise on all number of things, but the committee that I had in mind for this committee for us, the Citizens Committee, would be reporting to us on questions and advising us on things like the, I'm drawing a blank on what we even have any purview over, but just any things that we had questions about, whether it be curriculum or whether it be COMAR or anything like that, somebody that would advise us.
So what I researched what a lot of other districts were doing as well, and there's kind of two models. One model is writing one policy that just creates a citizens advisory committee, council, whatever you want to name it, just names that committee. Another model, and that's what Dr. Salins and I liked and are proposing here, is that we just establish that we're going to have citizens advisory committees. Let's not put a number necessarily on it, and then an accompanying regulation that's the next agenda item as well, that will make the citizens advisory council and then directly report to the board. And we can change that language to make it more formal when it's reported. And we can go the alternate route too, but this seemed to not limit us to just the one committee, and allowed us to, if we decided we have the Citizens Advisory Council and we want them to look at school calendar, and they just can't fit in with when they're doing policy review, where you already have a policy there where you can go ahead and set up a separate committee just to look at calendar if you would like to, rather than just having the one committee there. You now have a broad policy whenever you need to form these groups, whether ongoing or ad hoc, it's there.
No, I think it's a great idea, and certainly we can, I understand what you're saying, then it says report to the board when that's requested. So if we had a committee that was set up by the board to advise the board, then obviously that committee would then just report to the board. But in the meetings, I don't know that we necessarily, for the Citizens Advisory Committee that would be helping us as a board members, that we need the superintendent designated. It seems like it would be a board designated person to deal with that one particular board. Now,
That's Education Article 4-102 says that any committee has to have the superintendent or designee, and this is me, and I'm happy to be corrected, but that was my interpretation of that superintendent or designee has to be a member and attend all meetings of any committees.
yeah, just check Mr. Burns, is it required for all of the committees?
Darren Byrne, board attorney for the record. Mr. Kibble was referring to 4-102 of the education article, which lists, among other things, the county superintendent's duties in various counties, including what would apply here. And under subsection B, it says attendance at meetings unless the tenure or salary of the administration of the office of the county superintendent is under consideration, because that would be like a conflict. The county superintendent or the county superintendent's designee shall attend all meetings of the county board and its committees. My interpretation of that is that superintendent or designee is required to be at any committee meeting. That would certainly include a CAC type committee established under 4-112. And it makes sense because keep in mind that any such committee is in essence a public body as a subcommittee of this board, and your superintendent as the CEO and secretary of the board would, or through herself or a designee, would want to be there for that committee while they're acting. And that would certainly be how I would read 4-102.
Thanks.
And my little concern would be that if we didn't have a superintendent or a designee there, there's a lot of resources that are going to have to be pulled when certain things come up to get information. And that is through the superintendent or a staff member. Still comes back in front of the board. We'd have participation in the board. We'd do what we want as far as asking questions and putting different citizens on the board to get it well-rounded. I think it's the best interest of everybody. But I don't know how we would do it if we said just the board was reporting to the board and didn't have the staff involved, because they're the ones that are going to have to do it.
I didn't think that we would not be involved. I guess I was thinking to facilitate the meetings. What I had envisioned was just like any other citizen advisory committee that the county has, is you have a chairman and a vice chair of the board of that committee. But certainly Dr. Salins could have somebody attend with it and be a part of it, but not necessarily do the facilitation of the said meetings on that particular committee, not on any others, but.
Well, I guess facilitate, somebody's got to sit there and set parameters of what's going to happen and keep things. I think any board, any citizen person on that board could sit there and bring up what they want, ask whatever they want questions. And I think even a board member, which personally, I'm a little reluctant to have board members on it because I think it should be independent and it comes back to us at a later time, because when the county commissioners do things, if they're sitting on a board and then it comes back in front of them, I think they're not a conflict, but you need to get the whole scope of it.
Well, they're not sitting on the board, they're just the liaisons, and that's why it had the proposal that I had brought, which, and again, I love that we're not limited. I was strictly interested in a citizens advisory committee that advised the board, and so they would have their chair and their chairperson with a Board of Education member or two being the liaison of the committee, just to research or to answer questions that we might have or task them with, but just for that one committee, not for any others. I mean, certainly, I think it's a great idea to have Dr. Salins and her executive team also have I think
We
it's great to
already
get so
have,
many.
I don't know if you
Special
even,
education.
right, exactly. So we already do have one. I don't know that I need to create one unless the board directs me to do so for a specific topic. I feel like we kind of did one for our strategic planning, to be honest with you. We didn't call it that, and we certainly didn't have the policy right now. I think it's necessary for us to put the policy in place. There is law there, and I think that, while we do have CCAC, we really haven't been, I don't believe, meeting the intentions of the law completely. It is an advisory board to the Board of Education, and I really feel that staff members being a part of that and facilitating that is very important to be able to get those topics and present them back to the board. I've not seen one where board members even attend or are on it, but I think it was a great idea, and so that's why we incorporated it in there. If you don't like the verbiage of when requested, we can do it monthly. We can do it at board meetings or at work sessions or as directed by the board. I mean, I don't have a problem with how it's reported out. We'd be happy to report to the board any opportunity that we can, and could share minutes and things like that. I mean, it's supposed to be a partnership and it's supposed to be something that's of benefit to the board. That's the intention from the superintendent, is to benefit the board. And so, I think that we would be more than happy to change out how often or what frequency the board would like to have that information delivered to them.
Well, I mean, personally, I would think there should be a minimum of so many meetings a year.
It's in the regulation.
Or as required.
Yeah, it's in the regulation.
Okay, because if we have certain things,
we did 6
it might
meetings.
get hotter, but and you might have to have a second meeting.
Yeah, we'll put that in there too.
But that's where it's going to require staff to get that information together with input from the community, which I think is great. And I think it gives a better insight to some community members to know what's really going on. And it all comes back to the board anyway for that.
And who would present it to the board? I mean, let's be honest. A team member, executive team member should report to the board from the committee. You don't want the whole committee here.
And we don't need a whole committee, but and a committee representative if they feel that they would like to have it, so it's just, that another committee member could be there.
But Mr. Smith, I'll add that there are some county school systems where a CAC report is sort of a semi-regular report. It may not be every meeting, but it may be the month in between the two meetings in the 6-meeting model. And I would also add that it's important to keep in mind, beyond the involvement in staff of helping the committee, say, answer questions or research, don't forget the other piece is, as I mentioned earlier, because of the Open Meetings Act, Public Information Act, and other legal requirements that are going to pertain to the committee, you will need the superintendent and staff just to ensure that things happen between meetings the right way. The notice goes out properly. The capture of the minutes might be taken by the chair, but then they've got to be recorded somewhere and kept properly and posted for the public. So right away you can see you've got to have the interface with the staff, which ultimately they're directed by Dr. Salins. So I think it's a combination, and I think what you all are talking about would meet the intent of the law.
So in your reg, you do have one board member appointed by the president. Yeah. And Dick, did you say you think that's a conflict of interest, or?
The only thing I have found, and this is putting my commissioner's hat on, we used to have a commissioner sit on the planning commission. I was there, and I didn't like that idea because I'm sitting on a planning commission of 1 of 7, or Gene Ransom or whoever was there, and you had discussion. Now, what you do is you have discussion. A smart one will exempt themselves and says, well, I'm commissioner because I'm going to get a second crack at this. I'm exempt. They've already put a lot of input and done something a certain way that I had concerns with. Let the group do it, bring it to the board, and the 5 members of the board then vote on it. But it cannot be a conflict.
So it's like an implicit, because you're there, you're encouraging it, whatever.
Let's face it,
almost an
I don't have a
implicit.
problem a board member being there, but I think when a board member's there, if we have citizens there, it's different because you're coming back on it. And if you sit there and at one of these CAC meetings and start saying this the way you want to see it, well, I don't know if that's going to put too much weight on. It's the same as if Dr. Salins said, I want this, and this. Well, that's not what they're there for. It's to get a community group to get a consensus of what they want to bring in front of this board. And that would be my concern.
So you may want to think about changing that.
Well, the only reason, honestly, I've never seen it done like that. I only did that because Ms. Bennett had great desires to have a board member on there. I think I take your point very well said. That's why I don't attend a lot of meetings, because there's not, I don't want to use the word intimidation factor, but people aren't as willing to probably express what their true feelings are for fear that they might think I think differently of them. And I feel the same way. And when you bring citizens together, you have PTA presidents, you have, representatives within the community, and to have a board member there, you have, a sense of presence. And you may sway the way some people think about things. I'm more than happy to do it either way on what the board would recommend.
Yeah, so we did have a policy committee, right, where the board members were part of that committee. I think Ms. Harper served on it for some time.
I did.
And you did?
And you did for
Yeah, it's a lot, I think the CAC is a lot different than a planning commission subcommittee where you're talking about expansion, which means contracts and money, and I'm not sure if that's
I have
going to
no
be the
problem.
same
It's just-
here. Well, just to differentiate here.
Sure.
Well, my
So-
thing, I guess, was thinking, because I sat on the Economic Development Commission for 6 years to the commissioners, and that was an advisory board. There were no decisions made by the EDC. It was strictly advisory. And so we always had the commissioner liaison at our meetings. I never felt pressure from the commissioner, because he's asking us, the commissioners are asking us for our advice, because that's who created us to talk to them and give them advice. I mean, we just had that time to research. We researched text amendments. We talked to developers when they're the programs. We had the presentations, and then we would give our opinion and write it.
But the commissioner sat on that with you?
He's all the commissioners are liaisons to every single citizens commission that we have in the county. They don't sit on the planning and zoning. And you're right. I mean, you've got a lot of
They did it
people
one
now.
time.
Right, they did, but they don't do that now. They're just the liaison. But and the thing is, just for the CAC, I thought that was to advise the board. We are asking the board for their opinion. So I guess I was thinking, we're asking for their input, so that's what I want. I don't want them to be influenced by me. The whole reason why we would be asking them is to get the input of the citizens that were on the board, and then they're just advising, and whether we accept or not, or whether we vote or not, is a whole other thing. But advisory is, I guess I'm thinking, I don't feel any pressure that they would feel the pressure from us, because we're asking them their opinions about stuff. So
in past years, I've been, CSAC came before the board and did their presentations on their committees, reports, and a lot of good came out of it. And they were reporting to the board, and at that time, Dr. Williamson, and it was very helpful. So
That's what the
that's what the
intention is
intention
here.
is here. Yeah.
Well, let me ask a question. We have on this is going to the second one, which is a regulation. One executive team member designated by the superintendent, one board member appointed by the president. Both those would be non-voting.
yeah, because there's really not.
I mean, just put it in there that it'd be non-voting. They're
well,
there.
definitely, because there's nothing to vote on. Because again, it's
Well, but there has to be
advisory.
a consensus. I mean,
Yeah.
if something's going on and
yes.
and Dr. Salins or Dr. Kibler's chairing it, they're going to say, okay, we need to bring this up. This is a recommendation. Are we all for it? Well, Dr. Kibler and Mark would not be voting members. They would just sit there and let that might be a way to do it where you still have people on there, have the expertise on there, get feedback to the board, but the board's going to get it back to vote on it later, and Dr. Salins, if it falls under her review, is going to make the decision on something that's, in her purview of what she's going to be doing.
And they would report to the board. I mean, there's only 6 meetings a year, so like 3 times a year they could come. I mean, or more if it's necessary. I mean, that's what it's about, being advisors.
We talked about every meeting afterwards, because we would have the minutes and we would just share some highlights, and
Okay.
that's
Well,
what
and
we would
that
talk
could
about.
be both the staff member or you and the board member could sit there and go over the minutes and could sit there and do, or committee when somebody else there. I mean, that would be certainly there. I mean, it's a working process to a point.
And where would we see the tasking coming from? Like, who would be able to suggest, like, this is something I'd like you to.
Board members.
The board members.
Or if anybody, I mean, there's all kinds of issues that come up with our systems, and that might be a good place to throw it to the Citizens Advisory Council to get the feel, rather than putting out a survey all the time.
Well, one thing that we put in here that might go before the committee, or pieces of the blueprint. So we might have to make a decision of how we're going to implement a certain piece of that legislation. So with your permission, we'd say, hey, we'd like to go to the CAC and just run this by, which way would they lean, or what are their thoughts if we go this direction or that? So I can envision executive team members coming to you and saying, we want to bring these topics up in CAC to get their opinion and then share that out with you. And then the other thing we're thinking is, as policies come up, there will be times where you'll say, well, hey, what was the CAC's view on this, whether that be a board member that sits and non-voting.
And that's the only part that gets to be a little bit of conflict, because you have to vote, this board has to vote on the school calendar, they have to vote on every policy that comes through. So there could potentially be that conflict, is I think what Dick was trying to say.
It was, the board members, and I think most board members would not vote on something, because it would be, why do that until I hear the whole thing and hear what's going on? But I just want to make it as independent as possible. I think it's the same thing too as when we do our book reviews. This would be a perfect place to send some of these books to, wouldn't it? I mean, and you get it on there. You don't want a board member voting on that, because it's going to come in front of the board for a first, second, and third read or whatever. But I don't know what everybody's thoughts, but that might be a way to.
I would say I was not necessarily envisioning that the CAC would take a position as we talk about voting. It was more of what was the discussion?
What were the discussion?
When we look at minutes,
exactly,
and here were the pros and cons.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, probably would not come to many votes.
Right. That's what I envisioned as well, just a group that would, once they were tasked with something, would just give their opinions, it would be an advice, an advisory board. And it would not be binding on Dr. Salins or the executive team or the board if we did not vote on something, But to get feedback, and I guess and what I had created one is I had thought that it would be great to do positions outside of the school district, rather than teachers and stuff picking them, that we would have them come from the community, solicit from two from each district, one that was.
They would be from the community.
Pardon?
They would be from the community, because.
But it said names from the that would be put out by the teachers.
Right, because they're the people who know our parents, who are involved in the community, that, that's really your best resource, is going to your teachers and saying, which one of your parents or PTA or somebody who, that's why I said most of the time it's usually somebody who's involved in the PTA or the Boosters Club or something like that, that has a little different lens, not just a parent lens, but usually has multiple lenses.
And in the regulation, in the regulation, we also did put 5 others, one nominated from each of the board members as well. And if you would choose that you want somebody sort of in the district but outside of the school system, that would be your prerogative.
So we don't have to vote on that, just send it out for first read.
This is information. Well, we heard,
Okay. Yeah, it'll come back to you 2 more times.
Okay.
because everybody needs to digest it, and if we need to make any tweaks, we can do that at the next.
Sure. So we kind of covered both. We kind of covered both at once. We're good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kippa.
Okay, we're scheduled for a break, but we're not going to do it. We're going to keep running, and at 8 o'clock, I will then call for public comment, which at the present time, there doesn't look like there's any, but we will do that because I did say I would do it back earlier. Dr. Knoll.
It's just,
No,
it's an action item.
current action items, sir.
I think you've all had an opportunity.
We've all had an opportunity to review the Human Resources Report.
Mm-hmm.
I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Oh, sorry, Mark.
Have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Just keep that going.
How you doing, Ms. Kenna?
I'm doing very well.
Just sit there
How are
and
you
go.
doing?
Say the same
Have you
thing.
recovered?
Do we look like it?
So good evening, President Smith and Superintendent Salins and members of the board and exec team. My name is Tracy Kenna. I'm the Supervisor of Accountability. I am here with 3 different renewal contracts for your action. The first one we're going to discuss is College Board. This is the PSAT that we give to all sophomores and the school day SAT, which we've been giving to all juniors. Well, I would say over COVID years, as many juniors as we could get. But we'd like to get back in the swing of giving these 2 tests free of charge to all of our 10th and 11th graders.
And this is, we've been doing this pre-COVID, we did this.
Yes, we've been doing PSAT for a while. We use the PSAT scores for an AP potential program in College Board, which then allows us to schedule certain kids. It's actually looking for students that may be underrepresented in advanced placement courses. So getting PSAT scores in sophomore year allows us to then schedule them into the more rigorous courses further in high school. So we've been using that one for a while. The school day SAT we've been doing just since 2018.
May I make a motion, Mr. Smith? Make a motion to renew the ongoing contract with College Board to provide PSAT and SAT testing. Fiscal impact dollar amount of $31,719. Budget source unrestricted current expense fund.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you.
Ms. Cannon, before you go on, I remember all those graduations with you standing there, handing the folders out to when you were academic dean all those years. You didn't miss it today because it was blazing hot.
I would have just been melting in that gown. I'm so glad you guys toughed it out and wore, but I was happy to not be in the gown today. But they did do a lovely job today. It was very nicely done. Nobody actually burst into flames. Okay, the next up is Schoology. Schoology is a Powerschool product. It is our learning management system. We are using it because when we went into the 2021 school year, we needed a learning management system so that we could teach virtually and have students engage with education while not being in the building. So at this point, we are still required to have some kind of a learning management system for another couple of years. That way we're abiding by the Safe Returns plan. The idea is that at any point in time, be it a snow day, I mean, it doesn't have to be a major pandemic event, but we could have kids continue to learn. So a perfect example is today at Queen Anne's County High School, the underclassmen were working on Schoology when the seniors were graduating. So they really didn't miss a beat. And then the same will be tomorrow for Ken Island. So Schoology, and I do mention it's a Powerschool product because today is kind of a Powerschool day between Mr. Combs and myself. All of these products were actually purchased separately over the years, some as long ago as Dr. Williamson. I feel like we've mentioned her a bunch tonight. But over the years, Powerschool has just kind of purchased everything. So we are working to start to bring these all together. That way we'll come to you and talk to you about Powerschool instead of Schoology or my next one, which is the Performance Matters.
Do we know if we can kind of bulk discount for using all these products together?
That's what I'm working towards. I'm going to look over to Jane. Yes, that's what we are trying. Because at this
We're trying
point,
to get the other counties on the shore too together.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Because they've become a huge, huge company at this point.
Yeah, well, Performance Matters has been out for...
we were trying to figure that out today. I believe it's
been 20 years.
I was going to say, it's about 19, 20 years.
I remember with the first year that we got it.
Yeah. So
it's been 20 years. Yeah.
Mr. Smith, may I make a motion to renew the ongoing contract with Powerschool for the use of Schoology? Fiscal impact dollar amount of $45,877.72. Budget source ESSER 2 funds.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
And just to give Mr. Kevin Michaels a moment in the spotlight, he did pull some numbers for me this morning, and over 16,000 submissions were submitted last week alone by our students into Schoology. So I think we're using it. I think that's good. All right, next is Performance Matters, another Powerschool product now. But as we said, Performance Matters has been around with us for just about 19 years, maybe 20. We use Performance Matters as our data warehouse and for all of our local assessments. We have transitioned over the past few years into online assessments, so virtual assessments. So at this point, we're giving about 60% of our local assessments online through the platform that is now Performance Matters Unify OLA. So we give about over 280 tests a year. But more importantly, the reason we purchased Performance Matters so many decades ago was really for the data warehouse capability and the ability to disaggregate data quickly and make sure that we can actually drill down and target the students that need the most assistance.
Okay, any questions by the board?
Mr. Smith, may I make a motion to renew the ongoing contract with Powerschool for the use of Performance Matters, fiscal impact dollar amount of $60,867.33, budget source ESSER 3 funds.
Have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice summer.
Thank you.
Thank you, I'm sure I'll see you around.
We'll see you again.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm being positive.
Seeing us again would be positive. Next up will be elementary school digital licenses.
Good evening, President Smith, Dr. Salins, members of the board and the executive team. For the record, my name is Bridget Passon. I'm the English Language Arts Supervisor for grades 3 through 12. I'm here tonight to make my annual request for materials needed for reading, English, and language arts for our K through 12th grade classrooms. So I am agenda items 9.05 to 9.07. I'll just try to roll through them if that's helpful to you. Okay, so we'll start with 9.05. This is for our elementary school digital licenses in grades K to 5, requesting $83,087.85 for digital licenses to support Tier 1 instruction.
So here's my question, Mr. Smith. This is coming out of the FY23 unrestricted current expense budget, which we have not had passed yet. And I understand that we need to allocate these funds to get the ball rolling before July 1st. Is that correct? Is that why we're happy to buy them now?
This is can we please have the approval, and then when the funds are released, we are able to order immediately. The next two levels have consumables attached to them, and with the supply chain issue, we're incredibly worried that they'll get stalled somewhere. So we're looking to get the approval now so we can order as close to June 10th as possible.
And I think that should be acceptable. We can check on it, but from talking to commissioners at our budget hearings, everything looked pretty positive in my view, and I think Dr. Salins can ditto that.
I'm only asking the question on, erring on the side of prudence about spending that much money before its budget's passed.
Well, I think it's something we're going to have, and I think the county might have funded us by then anyway.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
I just have a question about the name. The Wonders 2014. Why is it 2014? I'm assuming it's been updated. Is that the year?
Glad you asked. So we are piloting 3 new programs in our pre-K through 5 classrooms next year from 3 different vendors, all approved. They have been approved through the LEADS grant. They have met Ed Report's expectations. So we're really excited. We have 21 teachers from across the district who are willing to pilot 2 of them. So we're going to present them with 3, and then they get to pick the 2 that they like. I don't know a ton about consumerism, but I know it's great to have comparison. So they will go through a very extended MOI process all year, and I will come to you next April with their recommendation for the purchase. So we are on it to update it. It does need updating. So glad you asked to spend it.
And thanks to the leads, we're going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Yes, all our vendors were approved. Yes, for K to 3. Yep.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Smith, may I make a motion to purchase digital licenses for the Reading English Language Arts, and what did you call it?
Reading English and Language Arts, digital licenses for Wonders 2014.
Wonders 214. Fiscal impact dollar amount of $83,087.85. Budget source FY23 unrestricted current expense fund.
Second.
A motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it.
Thank you. I'll move on to 9.06 for middle school digital licenses and consumables. This is for our grades 6 through 8 ELA classrooms. We're asking for $106,564.66 for their digital licenses and consumable textbooks.
Ms. Towers, was this taken into account when we did the budget, that we would be?
Yes, this is under our standard licensing in prior years.
All of these different things that are coming up?
Yes.
It's just, I'm going to blanket my question. All of this has already been
earmarked.
Earmarked in the 23 budget. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Okay.
Can I
Any
go
further
with
discussion?
it? Okay. Make a motion to purchase the digital licenses for the collections material. Fiscal impact dollar amount, $106,000, $564.66, FY23 unrestricted current expense fund, budget source.
Second.
That motion second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last one is 9.07. This is for our high school English classes, English 1 through English 4, for licenses and consumable textbooks. We are asking for $74,343.45 to cover both high schools.
Can I just roll with it, Mr. Smith?
Just roll with it. Any discussion? Go ahead, Tammy.
Make a motion to purchase digital licenses and consumable textbooks necessary for My Perspectives, fiscal impact dollar amount of $74,343.45, budget source FY23 unrestricted current expense fund.
Second.
A motion is second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it.
Thank you. Have a nice evening and a great summer.
Thank you so much. Great summer. Be safe on your travels home. I know you have a little drive.
Good evening, Mr. Smith, Dr. Salins, board members, executive team. For the record, I am Amy Smith, supervisor, K-12 mathematics and gifted and talented. And I have the next three action items on your agenda for review for you to approve. The first one is our HMH Math 180. It is our intervention online and workbook resource for our middle school grades 6 through 8. These are the current curriculum materials that we use to support our students who are 1 to 2 grade levels in mathematics, and they receive that intervention program there. It is earmarked as ESSER 3 funds for $22,896.
Any questions by the board?
Mr. Smith, may I make a motion to renew the contract for our HMH Math 180 contract, fiscal impact dollar amount of $22,896, budget source ESSER 3 funds.
Second. A motion is second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it.
Your next item is the Curriculum Associates iReady diagnostic testing. Currently for mathematics, grades 3 through 5, we have this. Next year, we are rolling our curriculum that you approved for K to 2, and they will automatically have it. This diagnostic will now put in assessments for grades 6 through 8 mathematics and ELA, as well as K to 5 ELA reading diagnostics. It provides the state requirement for the early ed reading assessments. So we can use one company, one data assessment round. It provides 3 checkpoints throughout the year, as well as resources for learning plans for students who need acceleration, as well as have learning gaps. It is earmarked from ESSER 2 funds for $110,329.80.
Have any questions?
I had just a couple. What's what's the professional development? What all is that entail for half the price of the iReady?
So the professional development with this is to provide the teachers in the ELA areas what are the ways the data comes out, how the data actually can inform instruction, and what are the instructional tools for it. It also provides our professional development for grades 6 through 8 who have not received any of the curriculum or assessment training for mathematics and ELA. The professional development also gives us a couple checkpoints throughout the year where they come back and help us with particularly the mid-year data analysis support, so that teachers know how to read the growth trends, as well as how to then accelerate students who have made certain goals but may not have stretched as far as we would like, or for those students who have stretched beyond, what can we do to help support them and continue to move them forward in their academics, particularly for students who have shown some gaps with our online learning between the last year and a half. And we have seen phenomenal progress in our grades 3 through 5 through those diagnostic and data analysis dives that we've done with our teachers and the progress of our students.
Great, thank you. And then my only question was, I was just looking at numbers where it said the total building enrollment, and then the license numbers. And they don't match, and I'm wondering why they don't match.
We always do around a 10 to 15% variability. We have flexibility to move it around the county, but we always do that because there's always influx of students that come in and come out. So if a student transfers out, that license cannot be transferred to a student who may then transfer in. So you always have to have a certain cushion. You can't go on exact numbers that are currently in the book. And we have to make projections of our incoming kindergartners and our incoming middle school students who some may be in private school setting right now, but then they'll transfer in particularly for middle school rounds.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Ms. Harper?
Mr. Smith, I make a motion to approve the contract for iReady diagnostic testing, fiscal impact dollar amount of $110,000 to $329.80. Budget source ESSER 2 funds.
Second.
Have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. And your last one.
And my last one. My last one is Agile Minds Educational Holdings. This is our current grade 6, 7 geometry and algebra 2 mathematics curriculum. It is the resource that we use directly for our instruction, so we need our renewed contract this year for that. And this is coming out of our fiscal 23 unrestricted current expense funds for $94,508.
You gonna ask a question?
Any questions by the board?
Ms. James, is this already in the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Smith, I make a motion to approve the Agile Mind contract renewal. Fiscal impact dollar amount $94,508. Budget source FY23 unrestricted current expense fund under contract services.
Second?
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Have a wonderful evening.
Same.
We are at 8:02. Mr. Smith, do you want to see if there's anyone?
Yeah, we're going to take a go and move around this because I did tell the public that I would open citizens petition and public comment, so they didn't have to stay with us late. I have nobody in the audience. Mr. Pender, could you check the hallway?
Oh, it sounded hollow out there.
Good night, Ms. Smith.
Empty.
Josh, I think you're going to be up.
Okay.
Okay, we have nobody here for stay over for citizens participation or public comment, so we're going to keep on moving. Thank you.
Sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, President Smith, Dr. Salins, board, executive team. My name is Josh Combs. I'm the supervisor of technology. I have 4 action items tonight. The first one is purchase approval for Dell Chromebooks. This is for the 5th to 8th grade refresh.
Why are we buying them instead of leasing them?
Well, we're paying for ESSER, so obviously you could save money by obviously paying them straight up versus leasing. I mean, that is always an option, but obviously you have to pay financing charges for that.
Aren't we leasing some now?
Coming out of our current budget.
Coming out of our current budget, we are leasing Chromebooks right now.
Well, that would be the last one. We purchased 1 to 2, we purchased 3 and 4. The last one, we did a lease for 5th to 8th. So this would be the last year. You would have made that payment, and then we would be starting again if we were to lease or straight out purchase them, and then not have to do a lease for the next 4 years.
We're using ESSER 3 funds, so
Correct.
That's something that won't last for 2 or 3 years.
Now I see we also have to purchase a separate insurance that's coming up.
Yes, that the second one, which is WAG,
Purchase.
is the accidental damage protection that a manufacturer does not cover. They cover very, very little, and it's actually more expensive to buy it from a manufacturer than this third party, which we've been using
How long is the warranty on these since we're purchasing these outright?
4 years. Basically, the entire length of the.
Okay, but it doesn't cover accidents and
No.
falling off kitchen tables and
No.
being dropped in this hallway.
Theft, loss, power, vandalism. That's not covered. Unlimited screen damage, as long as you have the case on it.
Do we have a number of what it like how many Chromebooks over 4 years have we needed that extended warranty for that was not covered by the?
We use it every week. Every single week.
I'm sorry.
There are boxes coming in. We are using that depot. We send things to that depot and back from that depot every single week.
Do we use then the on-site, the support that the hardware warranty extended and the next day business on-site extended?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixture. If we can get it done through the Dell, we'll get it through Dell. If we can get it through WAG, we go through WAG, which is that's Fourth Avenue Group. That's called WAG for short, for the initials. But it depends on which way you can go. See, some things you can go through straight through Dell. You can get it done faster. You can go through their depot. You can have on-site technicians come with them. With the group, I do have to send it out or ask for the parts, and then we do it. So it's kind of a combination of both, whatever we can get done the fastest. But we use both every single week.
Did we have other contracts? And I only say this because I looked up this particular computer, the Chromebook, on different websites, and it was about $100 cheaper. And
that doesn't include the case.
Well, the case was the clamshell.
It's not. It's a drop tech.
I was going to say we have those rugged cases.
It's $50. It's a hard case drop tech.
Right,
so you
but
can.
still, that's less than
It's $50 just for the
$30
case.
to $50 online, and then the Chromebook.
Yeah, 50 for
that I
50 for the
found was
case.
$239 on Amazon and $292 at Walmart.
The ones you can find on Amazon also have a 1-year warranty.
They also had the accidental damage service though on it too for K through 12. I just didn't know if we got other.
The thing like accidental from like a manufacturer, it'll cover screen repairs. It won't cover electric theft, loss. It won't cover anything it won't cause vandalism.
Right, but that's the next contract. I was just going with this. Did we?
The first one does not. The first contract has no accidental because it's cheaper to buy it through.
Right, but I was saying the ones I looked at had a year of K through 12 accidental damage service that was attached to it as well. So I just didn't know if we had looked at other contracts or if we just used.
No. We've used these guys before. I also looked at companies like Securely. There's other companies similar to this company. Basically, that's what they do, third-party insurance. Mm-hmm. The pricing is the same, and what they give us is the same. Like Miami-Dade County uses a different company down closer to them. It's the same exact service for the same exact cost. It's about $24 a unit per year, and you get all those coverages. Unlimited theft, if somebody steals it, give me a push report, they'll give us the money to buy a new one. You don't get that from the manufacturer. You lose it, that's on us. So
That's in the next contract though, right? I'm talking, okay. Thanks.
You good? Any further questions?
Mr. Smith, I make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2800 Dell Chromebook. Fiscal impact dollar amount of, really is it $1,117,200, budget source ESSER 3 funds.
Second.
Have motion second. Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
I have 4 and 1 nay.
She got it.
Okay, we're on our purchase approval for insurance.
Just as a back question, it will cover both. How much staff do we have on hand to help support our students if they have technical difficulties? Or are we strictly going through the company when we have issues?
we have total, including me, 9 people in the technology department.
Are you guys traveling to schools?
And we're 1 through 12, so any repair from teacher to a student is us, which is why we try to utilize a depot so we can send things out, because it's getting harder to fix things on site. It's too time consuming. We just have too many repairs.
So what happens when you give children electronic equipment?
Yeah. Other counties that are new to this, we're not obviously new to this, but the other counties on the Western Shore who are new to this program are learning real fast how,
right,
rough it can be.
Right.
On
Other counties
machines.
have either one-to-one or whatever, but they typically didn't let kids take them home.
That's correct.
Until the pandemic, and so that makes life a lot different.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith? May I make a motion For the approval of the purchase of Worth Avenue Group Insurance for the 2,800 Dell Chromebooks, fiscal impact dollar amount of $257,600, budget source ESSER 3 funds.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? That's the same number we just purchased. Call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
4, 1 nay. You're still going?
Sorry, the next one we have for Powerschool SIS. This would be the actual student information system. And that stands for maintenance and support. So that's basically it's the main login that we use it to store the grades, attendance, all the demographics. So that's that product. And then EMS allows us, this company does all of our updates over the weekend, so we're not down. We back up 365 days a year. They provide us a test server, and so we can test new updates and new features without messing up production data.
Any questions by the board?
Mr. Smith, may I make a motion to approve the purchase of the Powerschool SIS EMS CMS MS contract for 1 year, fiscal impact dollar amount of $53,758.31, budget source FY 2023 technology software licensing budget.
Second. Second. Any of those? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
4 to 1. And our last one.
Last one is Powerschool enrollment registration subscription. We've been doing this for the past 5 years or so. This is our online, we call it back to school forms, like have our nickname to it. So this is the product that provides those online registration for our kids either returning to school or new registration.
Makes life easy.
Yes.
Do you have any questions by the board?
Nope. Mr. Smith, I make a motion to renew the ongoing contract with Powerschool enrollment registration, fiscal impact dollar amount of $26,323.76, budget source FY 2023 technology software licensing budget.
Second.
A motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, I think you.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to see you, Josh. Take care. Have a good summer.
Mr. Pender.
Good evening, President Smith, Dr. Salins, board members, executive team. For the record, Sid Pender, Chief Operating Officer. I have several yellow sheets for you tonight.
Spent a lot of money.
And I will be jumping from many different categories to put
But you
on
won't spend as
different
much as that
hats.
guy just did.
No. That's why I'm following him. I bring before you tonight seeking approval for security camera server replacements. It's an approval of a contract with Data Networks to purchase 14 servers to replace our existing security camera servers for all schools within our system. We're utilizing the Maryland Education Enterprise Consortium hardware contract. Basically, we're looking to have 14 Dell PowerEdge servers that were installed in 2014. Obviously, technology, has exceeded that. We were able to get the PowerEdge with a 7-year warranty, RAID 6 data storage, and a iDREC card that allows us to remotely control the servers and see the health, the hardware health. Also with the RAID 6, it preserves the video for us. It has backup servers, so if one server goes down, we're not losing all that video that if something happened, 15, 16 days ago. So we're also going to be able to, with larger memory storage, store all of our video data for 30 days. Because we do record nonstop from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then after 6 p.m. it goes to motion only. We found that with motion, sometimes an incident would happen in school, and based upon where it exactly occurred, you might have actually missed part of the event. So that's why we go live from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. To record. We're seeking funding for $86,030. This will come out of our estate fund, where the states have gifted money to the Board of Education. So there's enough there to cover the replacement of the servers. We did compare prices from other cooperative the Carroll County Public Network, which we purchase a lot from. This was significantly lower than that one. Our Comtech will be replacing, if you approve, will be doing the work for us this summer, so we don't have to outsource that. So that will keep the cost down also.
30 days, that's reasonable to store? I mean,
That's about average of what the school systems do, yeah.
And a state fund, is that an endowment we have? Or
what's that, sir?
It's state fund. Can you explain that, what the state?
State fund, when somebody puts in their will, you know.
It's an endowment, it's money that's been willed to us.
Yep. So I believe we had 3
Yes, this year.
this year.
Nice.
So we were trying to touch every kind of school, I mean, not every kind, but every school throughout the system with that kind of.
So some of them will come in, but most of them are open. It's not for one thing or something, if maybe the wishes of the grant.
No, it wasn't tied to anything.
Okay, so.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever heard of an estate fund.
That's pretty cool.
I like
We
that.
had 3 this year. Yes.
That's nice.
Darren, can I ask a question? Is there a policy on how long we're supposed to keep this data? Is there a requirement?
You talking about video?
Yeah.
Now, let me go back. I'm talking, when I say 30 days, of everything being recorded. If a principal sees something in their school, they can actually go in and pull that and save it and download it. That's not going to go away in 30 days.
Okay.
Sorry.
The only reason I ask is, like, if there's an event that happens, if we have to go back past 30 days, do we have a requirement somewhere that says we need to keep the data long? Sorry, it's a habit of what I do. We have 7 years, 5 years, depending on the type of data it is, that has to be kept. I just want to know if there's a policy or requirement.
Ms. Benton, Darren Burns for the record, Board Counsel. I'm not aware of a Queen Anne's County Public Schools policy directly on point, but there is a Maryland Records Retention Manual, which MSDE publishes that, as I understand it, is, and I think Ms. Hudak may be aware of this from practice in the field, it's probably this thick, and it talks about everything from the FERPA records to discipline records in particular. I think most schools follow whatever is in that manual with respect to what they retain, and I don't want to speak, off the cuff with what that is. But unlike emails, which might have a retention policy of 30 days, as someone mentioned, unlike FERPA, which would require you to keep student records and student-related records for the entire length of time the student is with you, including possibly up to 21, the general rule is going to be absent a policy, you look to that Maryland manual for guidance, and then beyond that, if you want to establish your own policy, you would look to include such things in it. But I'm not aware that you all have one at this time.
Okay. Thank you. And last question, so are these rates in every school individually? Are the systems in each school?
Yes, we have one standard system throughout in every school, and it's also tied into MView. So if we do have some kind of active assailant or something that goes on within our schools, law enforcement can automatically pull it up and view it. So we're one of the few school systems that have that tied into it. Basically the same thing you see on the Bay Bridge, with those types.
And where's the fail over to? Is it in the same building, same system, or is it someplace else?
Back here.
Okay.
So we have backup here.
So our administrators at each school, if there was an instant of somebody falling or something happening, they would then, by policy, or not policy, by, I guess.
Practice.
Practice, been told to archive it, and then it's there for the record.
Yep. And then part of the reason we want to do it during the summertime is basically we're not having as many activities in the building.
Right.
And we want to make sure that when we do that switch over, that we're able to have the ones that are saved or archived, they successfully get transferred over. We have had some instances with the current servers that we have. When they go down, there's no backup. With the new system here, there's 2 systems on it, so there's some redundancy there with that.
Okay.
Very good.
Any other board questions?
Just a quick question. I know that the PowerEdge R540 is a second generation Intel, and the next one after that and on are third generation Intel. Does that make much difference, and did we ever price out?
Hang on one second. He's gone. I was going to refer that to Mr. Combs. I will say he put a lot of work in this comparing the different ones. He was able really to get us a better warranty and get us better data storage on this compared to the other ones that we were looking at. I was actually very surprised.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Any further questions?
Mr. Smith, may I make a motion to approve the contract with Data Networks to purchase 14 servers to replace our existing security cameras servers? Fiscal impact dollar amount of $86,030. Budget source, estate fund.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. You're on, Mr. Pender.
Yes, sir. The next item I have before you is approval of a contract with Optima, Inc. to purchase custom retrofit whiteboards at Queen Anne's County High School. Optima, Inc. Will provide the custom retrofit whiteboards to replace chalkboards that we still have in Queen Anne's County High School. This will allow us to use dry erase markers for teachers and also, believe it or not, being able to use the LCD projector. Because if you go in there now, I mean, Ms. Hudak can attest to it. I mean, people have sheets of paper hanging up so they can actually see.
Those when we went to the schools last year.
And I will say, this is a sole source contract in the amount for $41,309.10, and it will come out of the ESSER 2 account. There is a sole source procurement justification form attached, and in reality, this is the only company that makes custom fit boards. We can go there and buy a regular, generic one, but the custom fit, it's the only company that we can find that produces them. Again, it's for $41,309. If you kind of average it out, it's about $700 to $900 a board. So you're looking at 44 boards going through the school.
Further questions by the board?
Mr. Smith, I make a motion to approve the contract with Optima, Inc. for the purchase of custom retrofit whiteboards at Queen Anne's County High School. Fiscal impact dollar amount of $41,309.10. Budget source, ESSER 2 funds.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. The next several ones deal with the purchasing of new buses by different LLC members. The first one is L&S Bus Service is looking to purchase 2 new school buses for the 22-23 school year. The 2 new buses will replace the existing 15-year buses 9808 and 9908. They do go out of service on August 28th, 2022. If you're unfamiliar with it, you can have a bus in the state of Maryland between 12 to 15 years. It was 12, they moved it to 15. Generally speaking, if the LLC member can show us that they've had some, problems with it, some mechanical issues, we do, allow them to replace it in 12th, 13th, or 14th year. You mainly see that up north where they're putting on more miles in the Sellersville, Churchill area compared to Kent Island, which is a minimal run.
It's an increase in the PVA.
Yeah, so the new PVA, it's going to be around $22,700
Per bus.
per bus per year, compared to, I did look it up, it was $14,000 when these were put into.
And that was 12 years ago.
That was 12 years ago, that's what they were getting.
And we have budgeted for the increase?
Yeah.
We will bring a budget amendment for that.
Thank you.
We have a list of the replacements.
Let me ask you a question. This could be for all of them. What happens if they order a bus? I'm assuming they haven't ordered it. You tell them they can, right?
That's correct.
They're going to get these buses by August 28th?
I will say L&S, probably no, but he does have a larger fleet that he's able to put out there, to support that. But at this point, I would say it's going to be hard pressed.
But what I might ask a question for not just L&C, but even if there's some single bus, whatever.
So you'll see it.
What happens if
They would
September?
They would have to rent one from the other LLC members, or if
We can't allow that bus to go another month or two.
Oh, no. Once it hits that deadline, it's done.
But we know this could happen.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes we can go to the larger districts that have buses that they, in their policy, they might say it's still 12 years, and we could purchase some used buses that we could use for 3 years, and we've done that to make that, if we have to like, bridge the gap. It's just like a lot of times their buses aren't the same sizes as ours because they're used differently because ours are more rural than. But there's creative ways to try to get some filler gaps in there.
You'll see in the next several yellow sheets that there are 8 paid spare buses within the 4 LLCs that they're able to use. Once they get to that 11th year, they're allowed to have 8 total amongst the 4 LLCs.
Okay.
And who established that?
It's been in the contract for,
Oh, it's a part of the contract that they're allowed to have 8. But wouldn't it behoove them to have more than 8? Or is it they set that standard? Sorry to digress.
no, you're fine. No, they basically set that standard. It was 7, and the last contract we went up to 8. But, don't forget, you are paying, that's $8,000.
The PVA on each bus sitting there. Yes, okay, thank you.
But it also, students have to come to school every day, and if there's not a bus available, there's another issue.
Yeah, that's correct.
And a safety issue. I mean, so, it would be nice to have just the right number, but you can't go that thin sometimes.
I tell you, I just looked the other day, the cost of production of a bus has gone up 13%.
Sure.
I mean,
What hasn't?
And they can't get them on time. I mean, it could be up to 6 months. I heard that last time. Wasn't it 6 months?
A year. It can be up to a year.
Yeah, it's pretty rough right now.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we have this.
Yes, Mr. Smith, may I make a motion to approve LNS bus service to purchase 2 new school buses for the 2023 school year? Fiscal impact dollar amount is a PVA, and the budget source is it's budgeted with an amendment.
Have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Do we have a second?
Yes, one of them, sure.
All right, back there.
Throw it out there.
all right, thank you. The next one is approval for Mr. Eric Hanzo of the Bay Area Transportation LLC to purchase a new bus. This for the 22-23 school year. This will replace bus 0511. Let's see, the approval to bus 0511, that will be used as a paid spare, one of the 8 that I was just talking about.
Okay.
Again, the PVA would be incorporated into that. After the 11th year, they are allowed to have in paid spare.
Mr. Smith, may
I know we have 4 LLCs. They work together as far as sharing buses and renting buses if necessary, that if, one, that we're not, I don't want to, it's good to have extra ones, but it's also good they got to help us out by renting each other.
Yeah, basically, it's based off of the number of buses you have in each LLC. So some get 2, and some would only get 1 based upon the number of buses. Like Queen Anne's Bus Lawn's a pretty small group, so they would only get like 1 paid spare bus.
But if the other one had 1, they could rent from one of the other ones if they had to.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And if we have buses, they can also, sorry.
That's okay, Mr. Smith, may I make a motion for the approval of Bay Area Transportation LLC to purchase a new bus? Fiscal impact dollar amount PVA, budget source, yes.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Hey, we're getting this down pat.
This is good.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next one is Mr. Clarence Pritchett of Bay Area Transportation is seeking approval to purchase a new bus to replace 3711, which would be used as a paid spare.
Mr. Smith, may I make a motion to approve Bay Area Transportation LLC to purchase a new school bus? Fiscal impact dollar amount PVA, budget source, yes.
Second.
This is the same as everything else, so we're just going to call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next one, Mr. Joe Wheeler, Bay Area Transportation LLC is seeking approval to purchase a used bus to be used as an unpaid spare. So he would not get paid, a PVA or the amount for the spare bus. Basically, a cost associated to us would be the insurance and the radio on there. And really what this does is when schools call up to say, hey, we want to go on a field trip, there's buses available to take them on a field trip because all the other buses are on a route.
Right.
So no cost really associated to us with that.
What do we do with our cameras on the side? They come off the old buses and put them on new buses? Our red light cameras?
Yes, yep. Bus Patrol will take care of that.
Yeah. Okay, do I have a motion?
Mr. Smith, may I make a motion to approve Bay Area Transportation LLC to purchase a used bus for the 2023 school year to be used as an unpaid spare, no fiscal impact dollar amount.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
It was her nerves.
Okay, Mr. Pender, out of the bus business.
Okay, one last one here. Mr. Raymond Aaron of the Queen Anne's County Bus Line LLC seeking approval to purchase a new bus to replace bus 0309, which
Okay,
will
stop.
be used as a paid. Got it.
Mr. Smith, may I make a motion to approve the Queen Anne's Bus Line LLC to purchase a new bus for the 2023 school year, fiscal impact dollar amount PVA, budget source, yes.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, on to school safety. The last one that I have before you is approval of a contract with Navigate 360 to purchase Navigate 360 Emergency Management Suite along with the 360 interactive maps and floor plans. Navigate 360 provides comprehensive safety preparedness software that helps school districts and other organizations operate their safety plans. It allows us to manage our safety plans, the operation plans, drill management, staff safety training, digital flip charts. Really the major piece to this is also the reunification process, and I'll speak to that in a minute. With this program, basically, what I do right now is everything we have is on a thumb drive or it's in a binder. And in order to get that to the Sheriff's Department, the State Police, all of those, it's just not efficient. With the Navigate 360, the program, I give the link to the 911 dispatchers or Sheriff's Department. They were able to come in and actually do a 360 view of the classroom to see the layout, the floor plans of it. You know, each year when we make changes, I have to go in and physically make the changes on all the systems. And with this, it's a one-step process. And then you'll have real-time data. With this program, you're also allowed to interact with alerts, alarms. The teachers can have it on their cell phones, laptops. You know, nobody's going to stop to pull up the binder, you know, and see what's going on. It's really a beneficial program for us to go cloud-based. You know, the reunification part of it is what keeps me up at nighttime, because that's after the incident is over, and how are we accounting for everything. With this program, we're able to sync up our database with this so that everybody's on one single format, and we're not kind of looking through papers to find this and find that. This is a sole source contract. I've attached the documentation with it. There's really no other. When you start getting this specialized, there's not many companies out there that perform this kind of work. I think it will really take us in the right direction that we need to go, you know, to the next level of school safety. So I'm sorry, I'm seeking approval for $76,498. That will, $25,000 of that, we wrote a grant for the Maryland Center for School Safety that they awarded to us. So the remainder of that would be taken out of the FY22 maintenance unrestricted account.
I have a question.
Sure.
Under elementary school, we have quantity of 10, but we only have 8. What are the other 2 buildings that are being covered?
The Board of Education and Arise.
Okay, just checking.
And I had a quick question about the one-time service. So the bulk of it is just the one time, but this is a 3-year contract, and so the renewal contract is only going to be for approximately $19,000 for the next 2 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, it'll be for 3 years, yes.
Right, but we don't have to pay that one. That
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
$57,000 is the one time. Okay,
That's
cool.
correct.
Thanks.
Any further questions?
Mr. Smith, I make a motion to approve the contract with Navigate 360 to purchase Navigate 360 Emergency Management Suite, along with the Navigate 360 interactive maps and floor plans. Fiscal impact dollar amount of $76,498. Budget source FY22 Maryland Safety School grant of $25,000. The remainder coming from FY22 maintenance unrestricted fund.
Second.
Have motion second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Pender.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for your time.
That's it. It costs us too much money. You're out.
Okay.
I think if we add it up, he's getting close to the guidelines.
Okay, Dr. Salins, you have the-
Yes, board members, on March 22nd, I received notification from the State Ethics Commission in reference to required amendments to the Board of Education's ethics policy. So this is coming for a one and only, doesn't have to go through the whole read policy because under our new policy for policies, the board has the purview to approve it in one read because it is a requirement by the state. We don't have a choice. So the actual policy itself only had one minor change, which was a definition. Most of the change was dictated in the regulation, but I just want to personally thank and give Mrs. Andrews a shout out because she put a lot of time and energy into this. There's a lot of work that goes around this, and she did an amazing job. So I bring to you today the actual policy, which has a very minor change in it. Again, most of the changes are impacted in the regulation, which is under the superintendent purview. But I'm asking for a favorable vote on the change to the policy for the required amendments to the Board of Education ethics policy.
I just had a question. It has nothing to do with the writing. It's a great job. But it says that the panel consists of 3 members appointed by the board. Who are our 3 members? I know that Carrie.
I don't have an opportunity to work with them, so
Ethics
Carrie
board?
does.
Okay.
Nick Diotis, Elsie Lawrence, and Elsie Lawrence is an ex-board member. Nick Diotis is a businessman that lives in Bennett Point, and I don't know the third
Do you know the third one?
I'm having a.
But they,
Senior moment.
I know I've talked to, Ms. Carey's been great at answering a couple questions I have. So it's a 3-year, no, 3-year term. So when are they up? I mean,
It's been up for 10 years. Say, some of them are past due, and I know that Carrie, because again, this doesn't under the purview of me, Carrie has been working with Darren to look at those terms and see how we move about to replace those that may need to step off and
we are very grateful for their service.
Absolutely.
Miss Natalie Ford. And I will say, prior to our meeting with them this year, and I think mainly due to COVID, they had not met for several years. They're all very capable and willing to still serve, and very pleased to do so.
So the few questions I've asked you, you just get them on the horn and they just kind of.
Yeah, they're all very accessible. Yes, thanks.
but the one thing I think we should keep an eye on, since we do have 3 in there, how long terms you said they were?
Usually 3 years.
We should hope they're staggered, because you would not want that whole board to go out at one time.
And I don't think they are right now.
Well, that's the only thing I would like to look at is if we did if they aren't staggered, do 3-year terms, one would do a 1, 2, and 3. So we would review them each year, might renew them, might not, but you would not have the whole board going out at one time because I think there's some historical knowledge.
Yeah, I institutionally speaking, yes, I agree with that.
It is not completely unusual for school systems to have ethics panel members stay on past their appointed terms because of either difficulty of finding volunteers or, as was mentioned, sometimes things happen that cause slippage in the time periods. What I recommend to boards who are trying to reset that is if you don't have a policy that is an actual board policy that establishes the terms, go ahead and do that and include that staggered term process as you see fit. And that allows any members who are finally ready to finish that extended duty to come off, but not all at the same time.
And they can renew for another time if they want to, but it would not be.
But if you have a policy, you can help reset that.
I think that's something this board should look into.
Yes.
Or Dr. Salins.
Absolutely. We can move to create that policy. I'm looking at Dr. Kibler because he's, right?
Nobody behind you.
So,
Our policy guru.
Yes, we will move in that direction.
Okay, any further questions for the superintendent?
Mr. Smith, may I make a motion to accept the changes to the Code of Ethics and Conflict of Interest Policy 104?
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, that is the, Ryan ends up. Our next meeting, work session will be June the 15th. our regular next scheduled meeting will be July the 13th. That is moved 1 week out because of July the 4th holiday. So everybody needs to know that's July the 13th, and then we will have another work session on July the 20th. Do you have any other comments from the board?
I do. Mr. Smith, if you just indulge me just a few seconds. I had a parent ask me, in all places, the Food Lion, why this board was supporting sex education in kindergarten. And I have, in all my years of being here, never heard that Queen Anne's County had any kind of curriculum with sex education in kindergarten. And you've been here almost a year.
We do not.
Thank you.
We do not. The Maryland State Department of Education came out with recommendations to districts as it relates to many different things, and but they were recommendations, so a district doesn't have to, by law, adopt those. We do not do that. We have appropriate per COMAR, which says that you have to start, you may start before 5th grade, but you have to start at 5th grade level, which we do, which we've had in our curriculum for many, many, many years. We also have a 7th grade curriculum, and then we do so in high school, and that's under Michael Page and his departments for as it relates to science and health.
But parents have a choice for their student to opt out.
Absolutely, absolutely.
In
They're-
5th, 7th, and high school.
That's exactly right. They have an opportunity to opt out, and they are notified in the beginning of the school year what that's going to be like. They can opt out then, and then they'll have another opportunity right before they begin to teach units. They will send home something to parents, and the parents are aware that, and the parents can come in and review exactly what they're going to be teaching if they want to view that ahead of time.
I've heard the same issue, and I did meet with Dr. Salins and Mike at a meeting, and we are going to have a discussion on this and a presentation to the board in about a month regarding that. And I think a couple of things are, we do not teach anything below 5th grade. It is, when it is, there is something going out to the parents for opt-out. It's done 2 times, and they can also review anything that's done, but some of this is state mandated that we can't do. But it is, in our opinion, or I think Dr. Salmon's opinion, that it's, the state, and you can read this thing, and says it could start early, but it has to be done in 5th grade and above. That is not being supported by Dr. Salins or this board at this,
We are following COMAR.
Right.
And I would like to also say that since our conversation that Michael Page and Matt Evans will also be joining him, because sometimes their programs tend to overlap, and we do a lot of other prevention programs. We have an ACEs program. We have ACEs for the teachers to teach them about some adverse childhood experiences and how they can deal with that. We have a DARE program. We have a life skills, what's called BOTVIN. So we have opioid, programs and things like that. So there's a lot of different things that come together, and I think it would behoove the board to hear from both of those programs, because I think it would be very helpful.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have anything else good for the system this evening? Have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Got that one done.
Thank you all very much. Good night, Mr. Jeff.
Whoa, 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 whoa.